Intrepid viewers and the beautiful people all over the world. How are we? I'm here in Australia and most of you are somewhere else. So, hello world. Now, I wanted to take a look. I haven't actually looked at what's going on in Trump's cranium because you couldn't call it a brain. So I'm actually going to do a little profile on him at the moment, and I'm aiming for the date of October 31st because by then, 3 days before the elections, it's a time to see how he'll be feeling when that kicks in. And of course, Halloween's going to be different for all sorts of reasons, not the least of which COVID, so there'll be no trick-or-treating. And let's get straight into it. And then today I'm going to look at 5 key states: Florida, Texas, Michigan, Wisconsin, and Philly, and see how they're going. But first of all, the Yeti. What's he thinking in as we speak? I'm using the Russian cards. Why wouldn't I? He's a tool of Russia. Did you see, intrepid viewers, at his town hall, when the moderator brought up the whole thing about his debt, and he seemed to agree that he owes $400 million. But his way of dealing with that was to say, 400 million, drop in the ocean. You know, I'm under leveraged, like he'd know what that meant. My properties are worth so much more. It's nothing. He just batted away $400 million in debt. Does that bond you with the average American working family? I'm not sure it's your best tactic, love. I said love, I said pet, not your best tactic to belittle those sums of money. But also, as many people have pointed out, he couldn't get a job in the Secret Service or the CIA or the FBI, or in fact many big positions anywhere with that much debt. Why? Because, of course, you can be bought off. When you have that much debt, you have headaches. Except maybe the Yeti is beginning to realise something. So let's have a look at him, particularly around October 31st. Let's go with the Russian cards. The Yeti, 31st of October. No. Women are turning up, which is interesting. All right, in the middle, the Queen of Pentacles. This has often been my Pelosi card. Oh, I just heard Rebecca Mercer. Maybe because I'm working with the Russian cards. Rebecca Mercer. All right, first digression. I'm only on the first card, and already here I am having a digression. Cambridge Analytica, which was funded by Rebecca Mercer, and Eric Prince worked with it. So they did the micro-targeting to really pull people into Trump's sphere during the 2016 election campaign. They are also the same group that destabilised the UK. We're going to see the end of the UK, I'm sorry, British viewers, in our lifetimes because of this. And they were the same people. Yes, working for Russia. So this is Rebecca Mercer. When I say working for Russia, I don't think she sees it as that. It's who wins from her weird fantasy about controlling the world's money is Putin and others. So straight off, this is a Trump reading. I don't think he understood how much Cambridge Analytica and Brad Pascal, lest we forget, he's not doing well, is he, viewers? No. He assumed it would be exactly the same as 2016 and that all these people and players would just come in and make it happen for him. But they haven't, because they're a little bit preoccupied at destabilising other countries as well, and they think the Yeti's done a good enough job all on his own to destabilise the US, cut it off from global prestige, introduce the tariffs so the economy would suffer, and promote these really small-minded right-wing organisations everywhere that have become so popular and powerful. So she's turned up in the centre of how's he feeling. Now, the Three of Pentacles, group work or dark money, the unfinished job. So I think it's only by the end of this month that he'll begin to realise he's actually on his own. Apart from having the satanic Bill Barr in his corner, he's on his own, literally, because everyone's in quarantine and can't go to work at the White House. So he's alone. And the group work that pulled him over the line last time, because it was Brad Pascal's idea, is talk to them about being the forgotten people. People always buy that line. It worked a treat, right? But this time it's unfinished business. More money, of course. Two of Pentacles, trying to get away with something major without being seen, right? So here he is trying to put, he's going to, between now and the 31st of October, he's going to try and pull off something really big that he, in his steroid-fueled sort of world, he thinks is a great idea. But it's not. It would, in fact, be better described as a foolish act. People are turning away from him. If you think of this figure as Trump on his knees, the old guard, GOP, as well as all sorts of players, are now turning their back on him and walking away. He's going to be on his knees by the 31st of October. More money. Ace of Pentacles. Smashing the chair. I call this the Russian deck because they are from Russia, but they're actually modelled on a radical play of the 20s to 30s called the 12 Chairs and what people will do for money. And different people think the money's hidden in different places. And this is someone taking a sledgehammer to the chair to try and actually extract whatever is there. Right, so this is a Russian Ace of Pentacles. And by this time, Page of Wands, he's going to realise by the 31st of October, he's in deep doo-doo. Right, and I think he might try and, what do I think? He might try and opt out through something. This would be him thinking about, you know, he also mentioned during the week, if I lose, I'll go to another country or whatever, or because he has had COVID, and I believe he has and probably still does have COVID. This is his fantasy world about being able to walk away from all this. It's his fantasy. So he's very troubled, he's very isolated, and he's going to be more so. So by the 31st, it's going to be sinking in with the rest of the family too, as well, I'd imagine. Now, while I've got the Russian cards out, I'm just going to have a quick look at Putin. So what does he think is going to happen with the American elections? And what's going on for Putin? So Putin, like most authoritarian figures, when he came to power, they loved industrial military hardware, and so he spent the money of regular working Russians on building up this huge military power while not servicing the population on any level. So then, of course, social media came into play, and he realised it was much cheaper to pay half a dozen Romanian sort of disinformation farms than all this hardware. Oh, I just heard people are going to realise their place in the world. That's interesting. Just before I get on to Putin, another digression. America is only 4% of the world's population. and yet you have a fifth of the COVID cases, which is truly mind-bending. So 4% of the population, there's been a run since the Second World War, and under the guise of this right-wing Make America Great Again, it's actually made America very weak. And so it's important that Biden and the Dems, and I'm sure they're totally committed to this, do a whistle-stop tour around the world going, so sorry about the Yeti. You know, we are here to have real discussions about real issues. So it can be pulled back from the brink, but it's 5 minutes to midnight. And it's the same with the UK. Rural Britannia, having controlled a quarter of the world's landmass and peoples during the empire building, it's now about to discover it's a little island that can't feed itself. So I think we're seeing a reshaping of the world, and it isn't, people are attached to familiarity. They find change threatening and difficult, but I think the change is ultimately for the better. I really do. So now I'm going to have a quick look at Putin, and then I'm going on to the States. What does Putin think is going to happen? What does Putin think is going to happen? 8 of Cups. Oh, there's the unfinished business again. All right. So, bang in the middle, we have this 8 of Cups. He's having fantasies about leaving too. I think he's having nightmares, actual literal nightmares. And he is thinking of his exit strategy. Well, that's probably not surprising, intrepid viewers, because if he doesn't, there's a high chance he could be, this is an entertainment channel, by the way, YouTube, he could be knocked off by those within his own realm. And I think he's getting a sense of it. Oddly enough, I think Putin could actually have quite a psychic ability. He would poo-poo it, he wouldn't describe it as that, but I think he has, and he's planning an exit strategy. Wow, haven't seen that before. In the past unfinished business, he didn't want to do this, either have elections and be a democracy or make a plan to exit, until he'd finished this project, which is to destabilise and weaken the West. That's where he gets his jollies. So this is the Ace of Cups. This is all the things he has in the chalice. He doesn't want to do it just yet and pull the final plug. But this is what gives him deep political and personal satisfaction, is destroying the West. The 10 of Cups, often a happy family card, but you would have to say it's weirdly aspected here, because this is the parents looking lovingly on thing. So I think in a way, this could represent the intergenerational shift in Russia between the old guard, who understood, at least under communism, you had a job for life and an apartment for life, even if it was a difficult job and it was badly paid, and even if it was a scabby apartment, you at least had that. They wanted their children to have a better life, right? So they're torn, but they are literally dying off. So the question becomes, what are young Russians going to do? Well, this is their word of warning. They have to wake up, speak up, and move forward, or they will be bulldozed. He'll be president for life, and that's just how it is. I think there's going to be upheaval and big changes in Russia. And again, money, the 9 of Pentacles. This is catching a bit of sleep where you can. I think he's sleeping with one eye open and having nightmares. So even though he's winning in the sense of he was the brainchild of doing all this, winning can sometimes be scary, because what do you do with an unstable West? It could go in any direction. It doesn't mean it's just going to be weak and passive. It could be a very different ballgame. He's very invested, I think, in the Democrats not winning. And he's a bit worried about this outcome because the useful idiot that was Trump has blown it, basically. So that's Putin. He always knew Trump was an idiot and had no curiosity about the world or history or anything else. So Putin's been actually literally mocking him for 4 years on Russian television. And Trump doesn't even know. I mean, we saw it on YouTube. All right. So now, Florida first. Florida. Is Florida going to go blue? Is Florida going to go blue? Oh, I've got to try and put my wishes aside. Is Florida going to go blue? Judgment time. Oh my God. There's Biden. This is big. I've only pulled 5 cards, and 1, 2, 3, 4 are major arcana. Florida's going to give us all a big, big, big shock. This is my Hello, Wake Up and Smell the Roses America card. You are being called. Yet another digression. I think we all understand now that America is no longer a functioning democracy in the sense of how most Western democracies demand a very systematic and reliable way to vote that has been standardized. America has stumbled along decade after decade, allowing voter suppression, gerrymandering, the Electoral College to do what it wanted, making it impossible for people to vote in some cases and very hard in others. This is banana republic stuff. So it's really, really important for people to stand up and see the light. And this is about Florida. Wow. Then comes the confusion. This is the recounts. This is the what's happening. This is going to be the court challenges. This is all of it. It's heading for a tower, and by that I think a GOP tower. I think the nexus will be broken in Florida. This is my card for Biden, right? It comes out. There's also the death card. Not literal death. Those of you learning tarot, it's about the end of a whole way of doing things, and it has to go to make room for the new. So what I would say with that is, I think it will be a massive swing to blues, but because of all the nefarious dealings, the things we can't see, it's going to be artificially close. This is the tower. Need I say more? Right? And so Biden will have to rebuild on the other side of it. It could be that it's such a mess that we won't know for ages what's happened in Florida. We might not know for ages. And viewers, while I'm putting the cards together for who am I doing next, Texas, people have to realize this. You have to have a plan B, C, and D for election day. When people are arriving and the polls are closed somewhere, or they're in a line and the polls close, how are people going to react? So it's really important that Americans have to fight for your right to vote. All over the world, look at Hong Kong, people have been very brave, being beaten, being jailed for the right to vote, and Americans have largely, only half the population normally, it'll be bigger this time, that's for sure, have bothered to vote. So I suppose this is the time. This is the time you're going to have to fight for what you believe in a very positive way. Everyone can have their own role. If you're young and you want to get out in the streets socially distanced with masks, fine. If not, you can be a keyboard warrior, but people have to not accept the criminal activity around the vote count. So start making a plan for your district, your state. How can you help in some small way to actually express that outrage? I mean, you poor things, you've been juggling the despair and the exhaustion of this presidency. But this is the beginning of the new. That was the death card. The next 4 years are going to see America reinvented. So that's important. Okay. All right. Actually, I'll go to Michigan next. What's going to happen in Michigan? Michigan go such a mixed bag. Michigan. I think it's just time people are beginning to realise. Don't forget, only about 15% of Trump supporters are Kool-Aid drinkers. There was a good 10 or 15% who just wanted someone different, someone who'd rock the establishment, and their promises have not been delivered. So let's see, hopefully people wake up in time. Michigan. Will Michigan go blue? Think of the magician. He says the world. Oh, bless. All of these races are going to be nauseatingly close. Obama's going, this is my Obama card, the Page of Wands. He's going to do a whistle-stop tour in the next couple of weeks of a lot of places. I think he'll actually have some influence in Michigan. The magician. Transformation and power on a big scale. This is going to be a massive shift. But the magician card, like all the major arcana, you could think of it as bad juju and good juju. So this magician is slightly more malevolent looking than in some of the other decks. I don't entirely trust this magician. Here is the world, everyone is looking on eagerly. And the more we hear in other parts of the world how your actual elections are staged and run, we're incredulous. You know, we go, really? Every state's different. What? What? No, a national election, standardised. State elections, you can fiddle about, but not national elections. So the world is watching this very closely. The star of the USA coming out here. But the 9 of Cups, which is very Trump-esque, isn't it, viewers? Look at it. Yeah, very Trump-esque. It's going to be so borderline. An assessment or evaluation. Yeah, it's going to be down to the wire again. All right. Let's have a look at Philly here. And see what we end up. How's Philadelphia going to go? This is the thing, and don't forget, viewers, I kept hearing 2020. Look, we're in 2020, hello. But we've also always used 2020 as an expression of 2020 vision, seeing things clearly in a balanced way. This is what it's about. All this fogginess around everything is going to clear after 2020. People are going to see it for the first time. And I'd like to see representatives from every walk of life in America joining together going, we are Americans and this is not good enough. This stuff is not good enough. Just the running of the elections. Philly. Philadelphia. Two of Cups. Obama again. Lots of wands, 5 cards, 4 wands. And wands are about direct energy, taking things forward, making a difference. The 2 of Cups, people working together in Philly. Working across the aisle, I don't know whether Philly has some Republicans who are anti-Trump or something. I think this is working together. I think this is Dems and Republicans working together. Obama, as I said, the compelling speaker. Waiting, waiting, waiting for that boat. What's on the boat? When will it arrive? Will it make things better? The Knight of Wands is cautious, so I'm going to go with cautious and say, I think it will be okay, but it's going to be a lot of work. A lot of work between now, I mean, there's only 17 days left or something, but nonetheless, and if you look at these burdensome wands, they have green shoots. This is the new stuff. That's why I keep reminding you guys, it's the next 4 years from now that will determine what the new America looks like. This election is the beginning of a lot of change. People have just bought trickle-down economics and suffered. You have the working poor, which is bad enough, but you have the working homeless. It's disgusting. That's not unique to America. This is casualized work. No protections, no holidays, no sick leave, you know, just terrible conditions. All right. Now Texas. Big numbers in Texas. Texas. It's also part of the national psyche, isn't it? It's big. The changing Texas is fascinating to watch. Texas, will Texas go? I think more than any of the others, I see more sort of out and out corruption around the election. Remember I said this is the card of evaluating. I think this is evaluating and counting the votes, and the GOP going, how bad is it? Justice has appeared and justice will be called upon to try and sort this out. The Ace of Cups, overflowing emotion here. But these 2 cards don't make me that excited. Nostalgia, what about the old Texas? That's the real Texas, you know, that's the mentality. Followed by the Knight of Swords, which is the night of revenge and jealousy and impulsiveness and not thinking. So I think it was the same when I read on Beto. He came so close and he's made a difference already. I think Texas is going to be one of those states, if it goes back to the GOP because they steal it, they come in with their swords and take it, it will not be Republican again. I'm hearing 12 years. That's how dramatic it is. As this unfolds over how the voting is handled, it's not going to be red again. This might be its last hurrah. I'd love to be wrong. I'd love to see Texas go blue now, but I think it's close but stolen outright in Texas. And again, it's up to Texans to go, well, if we're proud Americans, we need to sort this out, you know. It's like people, even decent Republicans, have to really start working across the divide. Republicans and Democrats both coming out and saying, this is unacceptable, this is not a working democracy, this is an oligarchy, you know, for rich business. We've let America drift to such an extent, it's just a playground for the big corporations and personal wealth. And the people have been left behind. So the people have to stand up. I can't stress that enough. Okay, and I'm going to finish with Wisconsin. Wisconsin. Everything's on a knife edge, isn't it? Or a sword edge. Could go either way. This is the recurrent theme, isn't it? It's amazing. That's why it's so difficult to call. Okay. However, we have women celebrating, which bodes well because it's women. Remember, we've been saying for 4 years as readers, a woman's going to bring down Trump. I think what we should have really sort of thought about was the collective of women to bring down Trump. So they've been working hard and they're happy with their progress and think it's okay. But it's right next door to the devil in Wisconsin. And the devil is those who are protecting their worst behaviours, right? So the Knight of Cups then comes into the picture. Thank you, Johnny from Tara's Apprentice. I think this is the false knight coming in. So in other words, I think there's going to be controversy and I think someone's going to come and say, it's all right, we're fixing it, it's fine, you can trust this outcome. But I think it's going to go into retreat. I think it's really important that every American with a heart and a brain really have to apply themselves to saving your country right now. And it's not just work, it's to have the vision. What sort of America do you want to live in? So moving away from people being really disinterested in politics, I don't care about politics. What Trump's done, apart from everything else, is millions of people now know a lot more about politics than they knew before, a lot more. And I think the young ones will become engaged and they'll come up with the big ideas, big, brave ideas that will represent a completely different way of America seeing itself. So this idea that if you're rich, you're somehow a better person than a poor person. But my personal favourite is the rich always say, I've worked really hard. No, you haven't. Cleaning toilets in the railway is working hard when you have to get up at 3 in the morning to be there and do it. Farming is hard. I'm a farmer's daughter, right? Coal mining, hard yakka. The modern mine is very different. But working 3 jobs to keep your kids in shoes, that's hard work. Counting your money isn't hard work. I'm sorry, I can't accept that. So, but they've only got as out of control as they have because the majority of the population just went, oh, well, whatever, I've got a credit card, I can still buy this and buy that. And we've become so materialistic everywhere. It's just about what we wear and what we do and all of that stuff. And this vacant consumerism has brought capitalism to the forefront. And because capitalism, like any other system, can have a positive effect or a negative effect, just as socialism could be really negative somewhere and really positive somewhere else. I think the model we should all be looking at is the Scandinavian model of democratic socialism. So you're taxed by the federal government and they supply good schools. I mean, I think it's in Finland or somewhere, there is no private schools. They're all public schools. So when the rich have to send their kids to the same school as everyone else, you know what? Suddenly you find more money is invested in education. So I think we have to look, and I think it's hard for Americans because you sort of brought up, oh, we're the biggest, best, you know, bravest, most fantastic country in the world. Well, lest we forget, 4% of the population, and the world, you can learn things from other countries in the world, you know, and I think this is a lesson that we're all connected now because we're all experiencing the shared global horror of COVID. We're all connected now. So in any country, whether it's Australia or Canada or Venezuela, if people are just going to be looking inwards, it's not going to change. It's time for a big global change that puts people before profits, right? Your profit should start when people are paid well and looked after. After that, it's profit. Otherwise, it's worker abuse. And I think Amy McGrath in Kentucky, I'll look at her again next read, maybe. I think more and more of the new Democrats are joining the Elizabeth Warrens and the Bernies in the sense that workers' conditions are really important to the prosperity of a country. And so capitalism's got out of control. It's allowed to be too greedy. And so people aren't responsible for crushing people underneath them, you know. So it's not until you get decent workers' rights that people can make plans and their kids can have a future and it can actually progress. I'll stop there because otherwise I'll go, you know what I'm like. Yeah. Thanks for your comments. I do try and get to them all. And I love you guys immensely. So for now, bye. And I'll see you ever so soon. Bye-bye.